Hey everyone, it's David here. I I missed 2 Mondays for posting. I'm sorry. The first Monday, I got an email from ISP saying, "Oh no, you've almost used up your bandwidth cap." DSL's awesome, so I couldn't upload anything. And then, of course, if you can hear it, I got sick. Only just started feeling well enough to not sound bad on camera. So I thought I'd try and do one today. But I'm still going to continue trying to focus on doing at least one video on a Monday as regularly as humanly possible. But I'm sorry for the last 2 weeks. It couldn't really be helped. In about a week, maybe two, I should be getting fibre internet. It's actually cheaper than DSL now, which is kind of cool. And then I'll be able to upload more and do more stuff and maybe do a fun live streamy thing or something on Discord. Haven't decided yet completely, but so I thought I'd start with NaNoWriMo. For those that don't know, NaNoWriMo stands for National Novel Writing Month. I think it's almost 20 years old. It was sort of a little sort of general small population competition in the US ages and ages ago. And the basic premise is that people try and write 50,000 words in 30 days. And the original model was for a story, like you start a book. So what you're doing is you're writing a 50,000 word book in 30 days. And that's the original challenge. Now, it's changed for some people over a lot of time. One year I think I saw someone trying to do 1,000,000 words, which is completely unbelievable to me. I'd pretty much have to do stream of consciousness every day, all day to do that. But maybe that's what they did, I don't know. But this year will be my 10th anniversary of my first NaNoWriMo. I haven't completed a few of the Camp Nanos, which are a small version in the other parts of the year, but I've completed every single November NaNoWriMo since my first one. And so over the years I've actually sort of been, I don't always follow the rules necessarily. It's always 50,000 words obviously, but in recent years I decided what I wanted to do was 50,000 words of second draft writing, or just 50,000 words, because sometimes I'd be writing 2 books at once and the muse wouldn't let me choose only one. I had to do both, which, let me tell you, is not fun. It's not a fun creative process, particularly if the 2 stories are related. It gets a bit twitchy. I think I did Trinidad and Chaos Gate together, which was a bit difficult. And my first NaNoWriMo, I had no life. I just wrote and played computer games, I think. And I did 100,000 words in 30 days. And the reason why NaNoWriMo is so big for me is because after doing 100,000 words in 30 days, all of my doubts about whether or not I was a writer went out the window. 100,000 words is my book size. That's my target for a book, for a fully formed book. I mean, these days I write 120, 140 sort of K word books, or in the case of Bunchy Haven, it's 340,000 words. But back then, I was told you should be able to write 100,000 words every year, or publish. You should be able to write, edit, and publish yearly. I didn't realize at the time that this included, 60,000 word books, and not just the 100,000 word books that I targeted on. But I had all of these shoulds. I'm only a writer unless I do blah. I'm only professional level writer if I do these things or can do it this fast. And after doing NaNoWriMo that first year and doing 100,000 words, gave me such a boost of confidence. And I'd spent almost 10 years trying to find a publisher for Time Speaker, and failing because it's too cross genre. They won't sell cross genre. Certainly not science fiction, urban fantasy, dystopian. And all of the no's were really affecting my confidence. And I thought, if I just worked harder, if I could just write faster, if I could meet these models of writing and editing and publishing a book every year equivalent, if I could just do these things, this impossible future thing that I'm never going to be able to do, I would then be a real writer. And when I did NaNoWriMo that first time, it's just, oh my God, I did 100,000 words. That's not just a 50,000 word book. It's a science fiction word count level book in 30 days. And that led up into me deciding to becoming an indie author. It took like 2 years to do the research and learn what I needed to do, and I had an amazing friend, Rick, who showed me how to do the formatting for publishing file and all that kind of stuff, all the technical sides of actually publishing as a publisher. But if I hadn't done that NaNoWriMo, I wouldn't have got the confidence to become an indie writer. I wouldn't have had the confidence to write Rise of Hawk or all the other books that I've written already. And so NaNoWriMo is sort of, some people think of it as a thing that all writers must do, which I think is really strict. It's not fair. Some people just don't write that fast. It's hard to write. I think it's 1,666 words a day. It's about 14. I round up for my nano targets, so it's 2,000 words a day or 14,000 words a week. And some people don't write like that. They just can't. And it's not fair. I think it's not fair to tell folks that if they can't write or do NaNoWriMo, that they're not a real writer. If you write, you're a writer. If you think about writing, you're a writer. When you're not busy and your joy place, your happy place is thinking about stories and characters, even if they're other people's stories and characters, then your soul is of a writer, or your heart, your interest is in words and stories and characters, and that's what being a writer is. And I'm tired of people saying, you can't be a real writer until you've done blah-de-blah. I got told I wasn't a real writer until I'd published, half a dozen short stories in magazines, or this or that, or this or that. All of these unfair limitations, it's gatekeeping. If you write, you're a writer. If your passion is writing, you're a writer. If you love story and want to make your own stories and explore characters, and you're a writer. You don't have to be able to do NaNoWriMo or publish a dozen short stories in magazines, or more importantly, you don't have to be published by one of the big 6 publishing companies to be a real writer. Just a writer is a writer. But for me, back to NaNoWriMo, for me, NaNoWriMo, it gave me the confidence to become the writer I am today, and to have 6.5 books under my belt, and probably technically more than that. It's almost 1 million words that I've written as a part of a book, well, many books. And I'm proud of that, and that wouldn't have happened without doing NaNoWriMo. So it's my ritual. Every November I do NaNoWriMo. And this year, huzzah, I haven't got my pom-poms on me. Invisible pom-poms. It's my 10th anniversary. It's my 10th NaNoWriMo, and I wanted to do something special. So I thought I'd do a vlog, or try. I'm not really very good at doing sort of stream of conscience, because I tend to think in 3D and not in a linear fashion. So I thought this could be an introduction, obviously a rambling one, but an introduction nonetheless. Now I've got 2 main projects on at the moment. which are complicated. My first book that I published, Time Speaker, is actually now the second book in my series. And when I started my transition, I started the process of republishing my first two books, which I'd published previously, almost, 7 or 8 years ago. And I managed to fix Rise of Hawk and publish it as a second edition. But when I came to trying to edit Time Speaker, it's horrible, but it's old, and there's all these bits that don't work anymore, and it needs a rewrite. So that's one of the projects that I could do NaNoWriMo this year. And it's important. I need to get it done because my long-term readers have been waiting at least 6 years for book 3 in my series, and I want to get it done, and I can't get it done until the second edition of Time Speaker has been published. So it's relatively pressured. I would like to get Time Speaker rewritten again. Even though I won't be able to do the whole thing in NaNoWriMo, I have a tradition of starting a book in NaNoWriMo and then finishing it the rest of the year. So option 1 is Time Speaker. Option 2 is a book a sort of book that I've been writing. It's actually the first NaNoWriMo. I started Journa's Notebook, and I've restarted. I went back to the beginning of Journa's Notebook last year and rewrote it. Started rewriting it. Journa's Notebook is a history. So the current series, the main series, the Time Speaker series, starts at the rise of Hawk, as in Hawk is a figure and he comes into the universe at this point in time, year 3000 on Planet Shadow. Now, he comes in and takes over the leadership of the rebels. And the rebels are the primary people who have been fighting the agency, the baddies, for 100 years. And Journa's Notebook is actually the history of the rebels. So it starts at the beginning, before the agency is created. And I originally wanted to just talk about one character, who's Journa Rhi, who's the first rebel leader. But on the rewrite, I actually started with the backdrop for Journa's parents, who actually inadvertently added to the creation of the agency, or at least the training modalities. And so at first Journa's Notebook was about Journa, him writing in his notebook as a diary what happened. And then I sort of expanded it because there were more stories, particularly agency stories, like the creation of the Banshee group, which becomes the anti-corruption group within the agency. So the good guys within the bad guys. And also Scarlet, or i.e. Eagle from book 3, is interacting with the Banshee group. And so while I was creating her story in that Banshee group and their history, I added to the history. So I restarted Journa's Notebook last year to tell all of those stories, not only the rebels but also the agency and a few of the other side stories as well, like the Spades gangsters and stuff like that. But the thing is, if I have projected it, the word count properly, it's probably gonna be like 6 books worth, so 600,000, 700,000 words total. So I have no idea how to publish it. But the story wants to come out, you know. My original vision for Journa's Notebook was people would go onto a website, and the website would look like the notebook, and you click on a page and it would turn the page, and there'd be dates, and you could click on the dates and then go to an ebook or the story on the screen and read that story for that date. But I never found out how to do it like online, because by the time I learned enough HTML, the website definitions had changed. So HTML, CSS websites were no longer fashionable, or actually quite literally maintainable. And WordPress doesn't have a theme like that. I couldn't, and I don't have money to get one made, and so I put it on the side burner. But I want to at least finish the first generation stuff with Journey's Notebook, because there's 3 generations of stories. Well, 3.5, and so I really want to do Journey's Notebook. I mean, not only because I want to do it, because it's a story that's been eating away at my head for 10 years, but because it would make a kind of a thematic, poetic sort of loop. You know, my first NaNoWriMo, I did Journey's Notebook, and then my 10th NaNoWriMo, I did the rewrite of Journey's Notebook. It just seems poetic, you know, nice and cyclic. But the Muse won't tell me which one they want to do, because currently I'm blocked for Journey's Notebook. It's not, every time I sit down, it needs more time to sort of percolate in my brain, which is not good for NaNoWriMo. And TimeSpeaker, 2 of the rewrites, because I actually did 5 complete rewrites of TimeSpeaker while I was trying to submit it to publishers. 2 of them, the major rewrites that I did when I was really unwell. Like, one of them I was literally suicidal, and one of the characters, Jola, she's sleep deprived in the story because I was sleep deprived. This was before I discovered melatonin, which is awesome for my kind of insomnia. And so the stories get a piece of your soul, whether you mean to or not. And the piece of my soul that went into TimeSpeaker is probably one of the most excruciating times of my life. Actually, I think I would literally say it is the second most excruciating time in my life. It was awful, and to go back and rewrite that means I have to sort of relive parts of that again. It's like voluntary flashbacks. Someone with PTSD, you don't want flashbacks at all, let alone signing up for more. So I've been putting it off, even though I need to do it. So there's an up and a downside for both, and I haven't decided, but that's okay. My muse always comes through, so I'll just figure it out. Although, if you have an opinion, feel free to let me know what you think. There is a third possible option, is book 7 of my series, Battle at Kane. But the problem with that one is that the current plotting is about 3 books long, so 300,000 words. It's about the same size as Banshee Haven, possibly a little bit bigger. And I'm going to need at least 3 or 4 months to plot it out. It's very complicated. And I don't know about anyone else, but I hate cram plotting. Cram plotting sucks. It's even worse than cramming for exams. It's just crap. So, I mean, I could start the next book in the series, but it would be very unpleasant and difficult. So I have 3 options, and all of them suck in different ways. But we'll see what happens. Okay, I've done 20 minutes. I was going to go over my process, my plotting, my September level plotting, because I start plotting for NaNoWriMo in September, not October. I was going to start with that, but I think I've gone on long enough. It's a pretty good introduction, hopefully, not too rambly. You like my hat? It is cool. Rainbow Nebula. Just like, similar to the Rainbow Nebula that all of the Artemis species planets, the inhabited planets, hover above or below. Like, when it talks about the Rainbow Nebula in the sky of shadow, I'm talking about this nebula. And it looks a little bit like this one. see all the colours and anyway, thematic. I hope everyone has a good day, and I'll hopefully talk to you soon.